And welcome to Overtime, brought to you by KingsCast at www.kingscast.net. I'm Keith Cornelick.
And I'm Chris Kalaszewski.
And if you've been sleeping, we've been roundtabling. That's right, guys. We sat down with some of the best local Kings media. This is part 4 of our roundtable. Check it out.
All right, let's switch gears here. Let's talk about the goaltending situation. Last year, obviously, Quick had 39 wins, but played 72 games.
How would you summarize his year last year, including the playoffs?
There was a save he made in, I think they were playing Colorado right before the Olympic break. He stretched out with a 2-0 lead and did that full splits and got a blocker save. And it would have been 2-1. I can't remember. It may have been Stastny that shot the puck or something. And at that moment I thought, man, this guy has arrived. Because, early in the season he was overplaying the puck and there were goals that went in. You thought, man, he's down long before he needs to be and everything. So there was a real maturity, and you kind of see that in an instant sometime. But like we were saying earlier, Murray overplayed him, and it's just, you wonder. I always think there's one blind spot every coach has. We discussed in the press box our dear friend Cloutier, and that was Crawford's blind spot. With Murray, it was just, Quick came back from the Olympic break cold. He never got warm, until the end. But give the guy a game or two off. You just can't keep trying the same thing. But overall, I thought he had a great season, and he was way better at the end than he was at the beginning.
Well, his goals against was good for 24th in the league, and his save percentage, I had to click on page 2 on TSN, was 47th in the league, which is, those aren't good numbers considering that the Kings were 6th in the league in shots against, which is so much better than we really have ever been. Those aren't good numbers.
But I'll say this.
Yeah.
And here's when I look at someone like Jonathin Quick. Certain guys, certain goaltenders especially, you can do their career by the numbers, or you can't really say career because it's his first year, but to me, he's a Mike Richter type. And Mike Richter was someone, you had to see him play to appreciate what he could do. If you looked at the stat sheet on Mike Richter, you would think, well, why does anybody really think this guy was anything? But it's the fact that Richter was tough and he wanted to stop the puck more than anything else. He was just a bulldog, and Jonathin Quick is a bulldog. And that's the X factor he brings to the net. That was his idol growing up, and he plays just like Mike Richter. And Mike Richter, there's no stats you can really look at to look at his career. You had to see him play.
And I'm sure there are players on the team who remember that save just as well as you do, Brian. I mean,
it was at the end of a period too, so it was such an important moment.
It was a huge save.
And they needed that game. I think they won it eventually 3-0, but
I mean, that goes back to your point about going beyond the numbers. Players see that and they want to do better because they've got that guy back there making that type of save when they need it most.
And
does him, having the baby and the family stuff, obviously that's these days more part of things than it used to be. In the old days, they would never take a game off or anything, but I thought Murray rushed him back.
When you have a personality like Quick, you're going to have to manage that also.
Yeah.
Because Quick is going to say he wants to play every single night, and you as a coach, you have to figure out when it's time to say, hey, big fella, you need to just
But that's
sit down
what I
and
think
play.
Murray didn't do.
So maybe that's the GM's issue and not the coach's issue, because now you're in a stretch run for the playoffs. You can't pull Quick out, and people want to rag on it for the last couple of months. Look, Quick had a penchant, one bad goal a game. Every game he gave up one bad goal. Was he tired? Yeah, physically, mentally, whatever. He didn't have a break because he didn't have that guy behind him to do that. And the organization, again, this goes to the bigger picture. Jonathan Bernier was going to stay down there and is going to stay down there, and he's not going to be the starter next year. Okay, he's going to compete for the job, but he's not going to win it. And Jonathan Quick's going to start, and Bernier's hopefully will play 30 games. I think that Jonathan Quick playing 50 games, he's going to be on his game. And I agree with Charles. The intensity is great, and he never gets flustered. I asked him the last time he was nervous in a game. He said he was 10 years old. So the proper mentality for a goaltender. He's very unfairly treated by, I think, the Kings fans down the stretch. Bring up Bernier, all this other. I mean, come on, give the guy a break. The guy's out there on his shield every night, and the team wasn't playing good in front of him either. Okay, so it wasn't, that I think that's unfair treatment. People want to be treated. They expect. Now, look. With that said, Jonathan Bernier is a better goaltender. Technically, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I think that the team plays different behind him because he's very calm in net, an economy of movement. He kicks the rebounds to the corner. I I mean, he does all the right things. That's why he's a first-round pick. And when Quick came out from the 3rd round from that powerhouse of a hockey, university, Amherst, UMass.
What I think is going to happen, and I've been saying this for the last 2 months, I think, as Dennis said, Jonathan Burney is the best goaltender this organization has. He is technically far better than Jonathan Quick. Jonathan Quick's weakness in his game is his technical game. Mm-hmm. He relies on his athleticism, and he's fantastic as an athlete. The problem with that is it sometimes gets him in trouble. He relies too much on that. Sometimes he's a little too deep in his net. Bernier is almost, he can be almost perfect technically. And because of that economy of movement, he's better positioned. I think he's got a better glove hand. I think he's got a better blocker hand. Quite honestly, I think by midseason, he could easily be this team's #1 goalie. He's that good.
But do you make it a contest? They've done that before, and that has not.
I don't think they have a choice.
They're not goalies.
The coach said he
So
wasn't.
it's going to be Quick, and if Bernie's there, he's there. And then you think he might win the job at some point?
I think he's going to win the job at some point next season, quite honestly.
Well, if the team's playing the way they played this year, he won't win because they'll be winning.
Right.
Right? If they're going to go on track for another 100-point season,
Quick still got
unless he's going to go to 3 goals against
I'll
the
tell you
game.
what, though, I would tell Kings fans that that's not necessarily a bad thing. Look at Washington. Won the President's Trophy. I mean, look at them in the regular season. Don't look at them in the playoffs. But look at their regular season. They did it with basically 3 goalies this whole season. Look at Chicago.
They did it playing against Tampa Bay, Carolina, Atlanta, and Florida.
Well,
True.
the flip side, look at Detroit. If Detroit had a legitimate #2, he'd be in there now. So you need to go. You need 2 goalies.
But not tandem. Still a number 1 guy and a second.
Everybody doesn't have Brodeur on the team. So you need 50-30.
But what about in the locker room when you have? I mean, is that going to divide a locker room when you create there's a Bernier camp and a Quick camp? What you were saying earlier when you started this was the 50-30 thing. I think that would be perfect if you go and give Quick the time to just play. I mean, he plays like a #1, 50 games, but he's the #1. He'll be rested, he'll play better, but he's still the undisputed #1. Yeah. And in that way, we have somebody that comes in and plays 30 games, gives him rest, but he's the backup this year. And it'd be great if he played like at the beginning of the year, Niemi was the backup also. And it'd be great to have a backup that has a save percentage of .925.
I don't think there's going to be a problem with this team next year. Bernier, because I've interviewed every summer, whether it was at development camp or rookie camp, I made it a point to interview him. I've asked him the same kind of questions each year. I've seen him grow up. He's really matured, and as Dean has said, he really made great strides in becoming a man this year. The attitude has completely changed. He's not the selfish little spoiled kid anymore.
Thank Ron Hextall for that.
Yes.
Absolutely, he's responsible for that maturity because he's been there and he sat him down and said, "This is what you need to do."
But I remember when he came from Dallas with the team, I remember going to practice that next time, simply because I wanted to get a chance to talk to him. I sensed a complete mindset change in him, even from the summer. Because you could see signs that he was really starting to get in the summer, but after playing a bunch of games in Manchester, being the #1, getting the time and goal, and I think he really did a lot of growing up this past season.
The other thing is that they're not going to carry 3 goaltenders.
No.
That's the other thing. I think a 3rd goaltender, back in the day of Sean Burke, some veteran goaltender that gives some presence about where it's not going to happen. It's going to be 2 guys.
And by the way, I don't think it'll divide the Kings locker room, because if they're both there, you ask them which goaltender you support, they say, "I like John."
That's a good point.
And that's Charles Smith, ladies and gentlemen.
Charles Smith.
Shouldn't it be like the old days where you went in the locker room and somebody said, "See those 2 guys over there? They're crazy. Never and we're the players." Right. Then it's just not an issue. Goaltenders have become people in a way that they never were.
All right, KingsCast, so thank you very much for watching the latest Roundtable. We got one more we're going to throw at you. I'm Keith Cornelick.
And I'm Chris Kalazewski.
And thank you for watching Overtime by KingsCast.